in fourth. For those who didn't see this match, how would you describe it, Stevie?
Daylight robbery. Absolute smash and grab. Manchester City, for an hour, embarrassed Tottenham at their new stadium. This was absolutely men against boys. And I thought City would win this game because I couldn't see how they could continue to create as many chances as they have done and not take them. But I'll tell you what, today they did exactly that. And then, of course, when they go down to 10 men, the game completely changes. Just ridiculous decision from Zinchenko. But for an hour, I felt embarrassed for Tottenham.
Fair?
Yeah, but you also have to look at Manchester City and say, is this one of those games that you have every once in a while? And then you say, well, no, because this is what was going on against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup semi-final. It's the same sort of situation with Manchester City over and over again. We have become accustomed to see this team thrive with their possession and the precision of that possession and the decision-making in the final third. And those things, for the last couple of weeks, have disappeared, have gone missing, which tells me that naturally this team, they know they're out of it, and it's difficult for them to fully focus on what they're doing because there's no other way to explain the amount of bad decisions they're making with the final pass repeatedly, time and time again. Balls that are simple passes, decisions that are simple decisions that they have made time and time again, and we have seen this team do it time and time again, and yet they keep missing. Chances come, chances go. This is a team that is lacking confidence. And why wouldn't you lack confidence when you see where you are on the table? Let's not forget about that because we laugh about it and say, well, Liverpool is going to win this running away. It's not even running away. It's walking away. It's a sweet stroll, comfortable stroll with Manchester City's 22 points behind Liverpool. And as much as Liverpool has been flying, you also have to say Manchester City, there is a little bit of capitulation by this team. Not that they mean to do it, but it's almost as if we have no chance. And you are lacking that edge and that concentration that we usually see and expect from a Pep Guardiola team.
Mental.
Yeah.
It's mental. Because we know the ability's there. We've seen it from the very same...
So are we saying if Liverpool were level on points with City at the moment, we wouldn't see these sort of performances?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that there is a level of focus that is not quite there. And if you needed an example, they can just go up to their manager, Pep Guardiola, and say, isn't this the sort of thing that happened to your Bayern Munich teams in Champions League once they had won the Bundesliga? But that's exactly what you see. It's a lack of focus, a lack of concentration, lack of things that it's so basic for players of that level, and they're not doing it correctly.
When you've been at the level that City have been at for the amount of time that they have, that's always going to be your biggest problem, is keeping that mental level. You can stay physically fit. You know, you can do all kinds of tests on you and keep you doing this and do that. But what goes on between your ears, to stay at the level they were at, eventually there's a drop-off, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Mark Cogden with us. Mark, you were at the game. What was everyone talking about?
Well, first of all, they're talking about the VAR, the decisions that were kind of head-scratching at one point. The Sterling incident, which should have been a red card, it wasn't. Mike Dean didn't go to the pitch side monitor again, when if he'd done that, he might have changed the decision that was made by the VAR. The penalty, which took forever to be awarded, then the follow-up penalty when Sterling may have been fouled, wasn't fouled and that wasn't given. But ultimately, it was, I think the guys are right, it was about why City couldn't turn the dominance into a winner. And I think it is a focus thing, I think it is a concentration thing. I think, you know, top-level players, they need to be challenged, and I think they know that the league's gone and it's hard to motivate themselves. And on top of what the guys are saying, you know, for 2 seasons, City were absolutely at the top end of physical and mental kind of focus by winning it with 100 points and winning the league by winning the domestic treble last year. So I think there's an automatic switch off. It's inevitable that after 3 years that it's impossible to keep your foot on the pedal for that long, especially when Liverpool have won 24 out of 25 games, and it's just a freaky season. You know, if you look at City's goals, they've scored 65 goals this season. This time last year, after 25 games, they've scored 66. So they're still scoring goals, but there is you can definitely see there's a lack of, it's the detail, the fine margins of detail that they were ticking, the box they were ticking last season, they're not doing now. And I think maybe they're focusing on the Champions League, the Real Madrid game, but I don't think you can switch it on and off. And I'd be quite worried for City if you're going into the Real Madrid game in a couple of weeks, thinking they can turn it on again. I'm not sure they can. I think that there's something missing. There's some edge that they're playing at 95%, and it's not enough at the moment.
It's a great point, isn't it? How easy is it to switch the switch back on then when it's a proper game against Real Madrid in the Champions League?
No.
You can't.
You can't. You can't. You know, I know Coach of mine always said to us before the game started, look, you start at 100 miles an hour because you can then slow down. Then you can calm down and compose yourself. If you start sluggish, then it's very difficult to raise it. And it's the same when you're playing week in and week out. If you're not at it mentally, you can't pick it up just like that. All of a sudden you're going to... And it's not just Man City. I think the perfect example of what we think is going to happen to City, just look at PSG. We constantly talk about how they're not getting tested and they're not at their best. So how are they supposed to play against the best teams in Europe and all of a sudden be at their best? You can't do it. They've proven you can't do it, and Man City are going to find out the same thing.
Mark, what in particular, just going back to the point you made about VAR, obviously, if you follow anyone from England on Twitter, you should see people just going mad again about it all. What is the key point that's annoying everyone the most?
I think it's the fact that VAR is as Mourinho said, it's not video assistant referee. The decisions seem to be being taken by the referees at Stockley Park. It's not the referee on the pitch who's having the final say. Now, in the World Cup, in the Champions League, in other leagues, the referee has the final say, or he seems to have the final say. Even if he's going through the motions by looking at the monitor, it looks like he's having the final say. Too often, the referee stood in the middle of the pitch with his finger in his ear, waiting to be told what the decision is. Now, the Raheem Sterling foul on Dele Alli, that was a case in point. Mike Dean could have gone to the side of the pitch, looked at the monitor and said, OK, that to me looked like a leg-breaking challenge. He didn't. He waited to be told by the assistant referee, the video assistant referee, that it wasn't a red card offence. Now, who's in charge? The referee or the VAR? Now, that's the issue in this country, in England, that the fans and the pundits, the ex-players, everyone thinks that the referee should be seen to be taking responsibility for the decisions, and they're not doing. And it's been taken care of by guys in a bunker in Stockley Park. And the image that we all have over here is that when a decision is made to rule a goal out or to not send anybody off, they're all high-fiving each other saying, yeah, that's another decision we've got wrong.
So why don't they just fix it easily and tell them to go to the monitor? This seems like a no-brainer.
Exactly.
And they've had these meetings and, Mike Riley's in charge of the referees and it's his decision that they will not... The idea is that they don't want to make the decisions take longer than they should, but as we've seen, they still take forever. It's almost like the referees in England don't want it to work. You wonder why. It's almost like they want VAR to fail so that they can go back to being referees and being abused just for getting it wrong on the pitch rather than being wrong off the pitch. But it's not working. And they would get a lot of heat off their backs if they said, yeah, OK, look at the monitor more often, because at least then the crowd know or think that the guy on the pitch is making the decision. They just want accountability. At the moment, nobody seems to be taking accountability apart from people, faceless people, like I say, in a bunker in Stockley Park, because the fans can't see who's making the decisions.
I like the idea of the referees purposely sabotaging it all. The WhatsApp group. Oh, my God, we're going today.
If you're a critic, an adversary, an opponent of VAR, today was a good day for you. Because there was every reason to be frustrated about the system and the implementation of the system. Even when they got the call right, they got it wrong. See, it was a penalty.
That was weird. Like, to take almost 2 minutes when you look at a replay one time.
Correct. So it was clearly a penalty on Kun Agüero. So why would it take 2 minutes of actual play for them to say, hey, we got to go and take a penalty? You almost thought, like, OK, they must have seen it. It wasn't a penalty. We move on. It's like, no, wait a minute. Now we're going to go take a penalty after 2 minutes of play have taken place. That is unacceptable. Again,
even but that was the right decision. That's the frustrating thing, if it was just a bit quicker.
Correct. I go back to the Raheem Sterling potential penalty on Hugo Lloris. Stevie says, no penalty. I say, I think it's a penalty. Regardless, here's my point. If it's not a penalty, then it's a dive by Raheem Sterling, and therefore a second yellow card, and he's thrown out of the game.
But they can't give a yellow card for diving if the referee's not deceived by it.
Okay, but see, but that's... But this is the insanity of it all. It's almost as if not only are we taking the authority away from the referee out on the field, whoever is making this decision is making it behind this darkness of nobody's then accountable. Yeah. Nobody's answering the questions. And so these calls are made and you just go, all right, well, I guess we're supposed to move on because, well, somebody said it was the right call. And we see the replay, and then we say, well, wait, it wasn't the right call.
I can see the tweets and the messages and the comments now. 13 minutes into the show, and you haven't once mentioned that Spurs actually won the game, and give them some love. Let's do that now, shall we, Mark? Bergwijn, of course, dream debut.
It was a fantastic goal by Bergwijn, a really great goal, and then Son's goal as well was, even though it took a slight defection, was a great goal. And you know, you have to give Mourinho credit, because when City went down to 10 men, we've seen Mourinho teams in the past that struggled to actually cut loose and take advantage of an opponent's kind of shortcomings. So fair play to Tottenham and Mourinho, they got the tactics right in the last half an hour. But you know, Spurs, for me, during the game, they looked very kind of workmanlike, very kind of Mourinho-esque. It was almost like he'd sucked the life out of the Pochettino team, and they weren't really going anywhere. But obviously the sending off made a big difference. But I do think that Mourinho's got a job on his hands, and it was interesting to see that. Obviously, Eriksen hasn't really participated much this season, but now Eriksen's gone, you saw more of a Mourinho-style team today, and it was very kind of functional and, you know, not much flair and creativity there, but they got the result, and that's all that matters, and that's what Mourinho does, or used to do. So at least Spurs got the result, and they're back in the race for the top 4.
Did they really get a result through anything they did, though? Listen, the Bergwijn goal killed the game, but let's be honest. This is all down to Zinchenko for being a complete and utter idiot. And clearly, we've been talking about decision-making, which is a mental thing. He's ran for his first yellow, 30 yards from left back. And a top-class footballer in that time can't calm himself down. He ends up getting a yellow.
That was in the exchange with Lloris, that was in the penalty, and debate was going on.
Which then means that, again, at that level, you should understand, now I have to be very careful what I do. I mean, as soon as that ball was knocked past him, you could see what was going on in his brain, that he was going to block into Lucas Moura, I think it was it? And so that's Harry Winks, beg your pardon. And so that is a complete and utter meltdown. A player at that level shouldn't be he should be thinking about staying away, just trying to stay on his feet. It was 2 against 2. Instead of that, like a complete idiot that he is, he goes and bundles him over and gets sent off and does his whole team in. Because the only thing I can guarantee you, if it stayed 11-11, Spurs wouldn't get anything out of this game.
The first mistake he makes, Zinchenko, is that he takes the wrong angle on the play. Winks was already past him, and now he takes him out. Clearly, it's a second yellow, and clearly a red card. But Spurs fans will tell you, if VAR gets it right, Sterling gets thrown out early in the first half. And that changes the game as well.
Go on, Mark, final point on this?
Yeah, listen, the Zinchenko thing is a case in point. He's not a top-class player, and that's why he made these mistakes, because, first of all, he's a left-back, so what's he doing on that side of the pitch? But it sums up City this season and the fact they haven't replaced properly at the back, that Zinchenko is still the left-back, that they've got Fernandinho playing at centre-half, they haven't replaced Company. Stones wasn't even in the squad today. This is why City are not where they should be this year, because they're patching up, and Zinchenko is a classic case of